This story begins with a love story of a high school girl and a boy, and the blasting of an airplane because of the bad weather. But it wasn't the truth, because it was a manga Fuko was reading. She had completed it and thought to finish herself because her life wasn't that joyful like the girl in the manga. Suddenly a man stopped her, and she got sad. She showed him a knife and told him that he had to stay out of her business, and if he tried to touch her then he'd get a disease and would die ultimately because her life was deprived of romance. He heard that silently, stepped forward, and got the knife inside him. Fuko was shocked. He held her and said there was no such disease that could be transmitted to him with touch and threw her on the road. He was showing her that he was totally alright, but she was shaking. She said it was coming. Her bad luck was coming. Suddenly he fell, and a train hit him. She was very sorry because it was her fate, but suddenly the head of that boy came from the other side. It was flying and was talking. She was shocked. He started regenerating. She got shy and shocked to see his third leg and punched him. She started running and he grabbed her and said he wanted to ask some questions because he was undead, and she knew he was going to die. Suddenly guards came and he took her and started jumping on the buildings. On a building he repaired his legs and she again tried to run, but he grabbed her leg and said, "You have to explain that bad luck thing first." She told him that he was holding her leg and may become the victim again of her bad luck, but he said he was grabbing her with cloths, and she asked him to leave her. But they were at the top of a building. She refused to answer him, and he started rotating her. She got very scared and agreed to explain. She said it was a story from 10 years ago. She said her parents had to go out of the city and she said a warm goodbye to them at the airport, but suddenly the airplane burst, and she cried a lot. She told him that since then she started knowing about her bad luck, that whenever someone touched her would die ultimately. So, he touched her badly and she told him to leave her, but he said he wanted to see what would happen now. Suddenly a box of bananas fell on him, and she thought it was a golden time to run. She was running, and he regenerated, but suddenly she slipped from a banana and fell. She was thinking that she would die with her virginity because she didn't have experienced that how it felt when a man touches. But suddenly undead saved her and said he'd never let her die until she gave him the bad luck that would make him die from this very long life. He took her with him and was very happy. Now in ruin, he told her that bad luck depends on the surface area he touched, and she started running because he had naughty intentions. She was running here and there and suddenly her hair got open. She started crying because she wasn't able to get a haircut, because whenever someone touched her, they died. He started cutting her hair. She asked him if he was a hairstylist. He said, yes. Now he asked her in the mirror. She was afraid. When she saw herself, she was happy. He returned her jacket and she thanked him, but he said he had been holding her for 15 minutes and now the bad luck would be great. She was angry at him and suddenly someone beheaded him. They put Undead's head in a box and told her that she was unique. A man also tied her hands and she said they had met that day, but that man was very great. She was thankful to him for cutting her hair. Their head said now she had to die. She was sorry for the undead and suddenly fire fell on the man holding the capsule with the head of undead, and undead came back. They were ready to attack him, but he wasn't a fool. He took out his sword from his head and killed all the abductors. Their heads complemented his techniques. But he told him that if he wanted to save Fuko then he had to give him his head, and undead got ready for that. Fuko wasn't okay with his decision, but he slashed his head. He threw it towards him, and she thought she had to do something. She ran and kissed him. She said she had touched someone without hesitation and now her bad luck would come. She started running and there was a great blast. She was waiting for the undead and he came back safely. She was happy, and she introduced herself and asked his name. He said he didn't remember any of his names, and she gave him a name, Andy, and he told her that if a kiss could do such a stroke of bad luck, then what about sex? She started running away and he was after her. Now Andy was holding her and told her that the more the surface area he would touch, more unluck would come. She was angry and thought that he was only thinking about her as a tool. She was desperately thinking about getting out of this somehow because she didn't want to waste her first time. Suddenly she got an idea and said without likability nothing would happen seriously, because when her grandpa touched her, he only sprained his legs because she didn't have a lot of feeling for him. Her grandpa died a year after her kiss because he wasn't caught by her unlucky fate. He understood what she wanted to say and said he'd protect her till this would happen. Now he took Fuko to his secret place and wore her protection suit. He also tested it, and she asked about the guys who attacked them. He told her that they were unidentified police who deal with persons like us. He said 10 years ago they caught him and started testing him in the laboratory, and after 10 years he got a chance to run from there. She was shocked, and he said they'll never sit silent about what happened yesterday, so they have to keep on running. He took Fuko with him on a road trip. Fuko asked where they were going and Andy told her that they were just going and the destination was not confirmed. He said she'd fall for him and give the biggest stroke of unluck, and then her work would be complete. She was shy and mad. Suddenly he noticed an attack and Void attacked them. She was on the road and saw Andy was dead. She tried to run but ended at Shin. He tried to flirt with her, and Andy regenerated. He tried to attack but suddenly fell. Fuko was mad at Shin, but he said it wasn't his doing and Void punched Andy. Now Andy was able to use his body and Fuko told him that Shin was the one who paralyzed his body, but Andy told her this wasn't the fact, Void had paralyzed him. Now Andy and Void started fighting and Fuko asked Shin if the entire life they would be chased by people like them. Shin told her that after yesterday's incident, their capturing chance had increased. She asked if he was also a man with special powers, then why they were not hunted by someone. Andy and Void were fighting with their total focus and anger. Shin told her that there were 10 persons who were controlling the AKA Union, or the Anti-Unidentified Phenomena Organization. These 10 persons were responsible for finishing all the bad guys. She asked if they could become members, but Void told her that it was her end, and the seats were already booked. Suddenly Andy recovered and saved Fuko. He told her that he'll never allow anyone to kill her, and they'll kill these two and make space for them. She also agreed with his plan and touched him. She ran away and said she believed a bunch of bad luck was coming and he didn't have to take it wrong because this doesn't have to do anything with love or stuff like that. Suddenly a bus bumped into them, and Andy recovered himself, but Shin and Void were also saved. They went into a building and Andy was thinking about their powers and had decided how to attack them. He came to an end and there were a lot of time bombs which burst at the same time. Fuko was coming with a sword and Void thought he'd kill Andy this time, but he was behind him and came in front of him and said he had known with his powers and attacked him and killed Void. Shin came and he was shocked to see that. Andy told him that it was his turn because he wanted 2 seats. They started fighting. Andy was attacking him, but that wasn't working, and he also didn't understand his powers. Fuko was watching this and thought to help him through the sword, but it went inside Andy. He was about to attack him, but Shin resisted it and said Andy had spent a life of 200 years but wasn't able to cut someone in one attempt, and Fuko was worried she tried to touch him, but he moved. Now he asked them who wanted to be the team member and who would die. Andy said to make her a part of their team and send him to the laboratory. But Fuko doesn't agree with it. She said he would die, but he said if she went to the laboratory then she'd die within a day. She was stressed and Shin was about to make his decision to take her as a team member, but she stopped him and asked him to turn around. He asked the reason and she said she wanted to have sex with Andy because she hadn't experienced a lick of romance and she also wanted to pay him off. This was the only way she could do that. She also removed her shirt. Shin laughed at them and told them that their relationship was great and if they wanted to kill a member then after some days a man from their team was going on a mission, they could kill him and become one of them, and Shin left. She was surprised and he said she didn't have to do such a stupid stunt again because he also wanted this to be pure, not as a payoff. He told her to follow him as he decided the route to their destination and started moving. What will happen next in this story? Subscribe to the channel for the latest updates.